Hello and welcome to Common Sense. I'm the Common Sense Conservative, and today we are bringing you a video that's a little bit different than my normal political commentary. And this is because I was trolling around on X, and I'm really new to X. Since I started this channel, I was told to get an X account and do what I needed to get verified because I'll be able to reach out, reach more people, and more people will see the videos. So I got an X account and I started following Dan Bongino. I like Dan. I like some of the stuff that he says. Some of the stuff he says I don't like, but that's, my prerogative to like what I like and don't like what I don't like. But one thing about Dan is he's a straight shooter. He pulls no punches. So I was trolling around on Twitter, and turns out a little bit of common sense will make a liberal's head go boom. This next on Common Sense. All right. As you see below us, right down south, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Get all our future content coming up. Got a bunch of things in the work. I'll talk about them more at the end of the video. But what I do want to talk about is this post on X, and and my response to it, which ended up causing a cascade of ridiculousness that got a little out of hand, so I tried to reel it back in, but they just keep coming back. They are punching so far out of their weight class, you know. So Dan says, "Does anyone know who Stephen King is?" Stephen King, as in Steven King. And this was in response to a David Levitt, or Levitt, however you pronounce it, uh, quote post of Dan Bongino's post here. He says he doesn't even know who Stephen, Steven King is, in which Dan responds, "Does anyone know who Stephen is?" Clearly satirical, making fun of this guy's trying to call out Dan, and yet can't even spell Stephen King's name right. And here's the ironic part, it's right here by the man himself, Stephen King. Stephen King. Stephen King, not Steven King. So anyway, so so Dan says Biden is a disgrace to humankind, an embarrassment to the human race in every respect. In which Stephen King responded, yes. So first part of this, common sense to tell you, Stephen King's agreeing with Dan. Yes, he is a disgrace to humankind and embarrassment to the human race. But he's got a real job, not a podcast. Like, so you agree with what he's saying, but then you're bashing what this man's real job is and not a podcast. So Dan, Dan, Dan responds with, "Yeah, you're right. Millions of listeners a day on a podcast while you're watching porn in your mama's basement, yearning for the days that people actually gave a shit about your dumbass. Nice comeback, dipshit. Get a job, loser." So Stephen King, he's a writer, wrote books like It, um, several others, but it's the big one that I remember because of the crazy clown guy from the movies. But so David Levitt says he doesn't even know well, clearly, if you read the context, he does know who he is because he clearly states, and I quote, "yearning for the days that people actually gave a shit about your dumb ass." So Dan knows who Stephen King is, but his joke was, who is Stephen King? Because this guy apparently don't even, he's trying to troll Dan which to me, this is what I call clout chasing. If you go over here, he has 369.1K followers for David Levitt or Levitt or whatever. And Dan Bongino has 5.1 million followers. So this guy is clout chasing on Dan. Award-winning media journalist for bylines of CBX, AXS, Yahoo Examiner, etc. And Dan is a podcaster. So this Dan, he's banned by YouTube, but Dan's a podcaster over on Rumble, making tens of thousands of dollars. And this guy is clout chasing him by trying to discredit him. He don't even know who Stephen King is. But he does. He says it right here. Yearning for the days people actually gave a shit about your dumb ass. Okay. So, of course, I couldn't help myself. I had to weigh in. And all I said, it was nice and innocent. Dan B going hard to the paint on the entitled writer that hasn't written anything worth reading, in my opinion, ever. This is the gold I need every morning. Keep up God's work, my friend. So I was replying to, Dan Bongino. And then Christie had to chime in. Well, he's worth $500 million, so he must be pretty good. Do you have $500 million? Okay, I'm gonna keep the training gloves on. I'm not gonna go hard. I said, no, I don't. But I don't need $500 million to validate my life. So what's your argument again? I still don't know who Stephen Steven King is. So, so I was just playing on this up here where Dan said he don't know who Stephen King is, and quite frankly, I don't either. Everybody knows who Stephen King is. So apparently, this person, I don't know if it's a she or he or whatever, but reads my post, right? Corrects the name, and then said, have you heard of the movie It? It was his 22nd book. It scared the crap out of me. The main character, it's a crazed clown. Ring a bell? So, of course, I had to speak on this. I said, it cut off mother comment. Hold on. Let me find it. Because I didn't sequence it right. But anyway, essentially I said, hey, I'm sorry that you got wrapped up into this tomfoolery, but clearly he knows by the context who Stephen King is. And then I had his quote in there. This would imply in context that he knows who Stephen King is, but not who Stephen King is. Since David Levitt was trying to discredit Dan as not knowing who he is, and yet he quote posted his tweet and still spelled it wrong for all those in the back. And respectable enough said, thanks for the clarification. So it went on more and more that these crazy people that, this Omar guy. So he decides to comment on it. And he says, I wouldn't expect you to have read anything considering most Republican males who are under the age of 25 can only read at a grade 6 level. Okay. So, of course, if you want to throw a jab, I'm throwing haymakers. I said, yeah, most liberal men under the age of 25 don't know what bathroom to use. What's your point? Just figured I'd return a straw man argument in rebuttal since that seems how your generation communicates. And then he wants to clarify his generation. FYI, my generation is the majority of the world, not to mention the country. As a 38-year-old man born and raised in this continent we jointly call North America, no demographic or race can ever change that. Millennials are bypassing boomers for the first time ever since 2024. Well, good for you. Once again, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? This guy, Omar Al whatever, Wardian, said, I wouldn't expect you to have read anything. So he makes a very straw man-like argument, no backup, no proof, no anything, stating that most men under the age of 25 can only read at a grade 6 level. First off, Omar, I'm not 25, I'm 43. Secondly, I have 2 bachelors in 2 different majors with 2 different minors. All my bills are paid. I have no debt. Why? Because I was responsible and made sure I paid it all off. I own my land, own my property. The only thing I owe every year is my taxes, which personally, in my opinion, is robbery because it's going to pay for things that I don't want to pay for. But hey, whatever. So I made the same straw man type argument. I can't verify that most men under the age of 25 don't know what bathroom to use. So what's your point? What are you trying to say? Give me an argument. Give me something I can debate with you. Lay out your viewpoint in your debate. Let me counter argue it. And then we come to a conclusion that's probably going to land somewhere in the middle. Instead, you want to say my generation's majority of the world. Okay, cool. Good for you and your generation. You're about to inherit a very screwed up world because people like you have screwed this up. You have been the architect of your own demise. And yet you're too blind or too dumb, I don't know, to see it. So, yeah, please bring me an argument that you can back up with some kind of, I don't know, verifiable data, and we'll have a debate anytime, anywhere, and I'll show you just how this grade 6 level education will put you and all your little people right where you belong, and that's in your place. Because apparently, y'all didn't get switched enough as a kid to understand that there's consequences to calling people out. So, with all that being said, just remember, use a little bit of common sense, have a little bit of fun. You'll make every liberal's head explode. This is Common Sense, and we'll catch you in the next one.